So I'm going to show you here how to create a discussion in Canvas. So I have a Canvas course here called my Canvas Playground. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a link for discussions. And so when I click on discussions, this is going to open up my main discussion area. Now there's three different sections for discussions. I have pinned discussions where I can simply add a push pin to a topic to add it right to the top to make it easy to find. I have just a main discussion area where everything else kind of goes, or I even have a closed for comments discussion area where if I have ended a discussion, I can stop comments on that, just like that Facebook post from like 4 years ago that random people just keep commenting on. So if I wanted to make a new discussion here, I can go ahead and create a new discussion. Now, before I do that, there is an option with these the gear here, where I can control what options students have on these discussions. So I can choose whether or not I want students to be able to edit and delete their post, or I want them to be able to create their own topics, or just reply to original topics. And I could choose whether or not they can attach files. So I need to make sure those things are checked if I want those as options, and then click Save. So now every discussion I create will match those settings. So I'm going to create a discussion, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a title. So I'm going to call it Thoughts on Virtual Learning. And then you'll notice I have my familiar content, rich content editor right here that I could go ahead and type in my questions, my prompts, anything I want directly into here if I want. So I could say, what do you think is the scariest part of virtual learning? Question mark. And then I can still insert anything that I could have done in any content editor, YouTube videos, Google Docs, all that stuff. Now, if I scroll down, this is where I can choose, is this going to go to all sections of my course? Or if I wanted to, if I had multiple sections, I could actually pick and choose which ones that this gets assigned to. I could attach files to it. Maybe I have a rubric on how I'm going to score them that I wanted to attach to that as well. I can do that. And then down here, this is my options for how that discussion is going to work. So I can choose whether or not I want to have a threaded reply. So that means if a student comments, it will kind of keep that threaded model, one reply after another after another. I can choose actually here by checking a box whether or not a student must post their own thoughts before they see replies. Maybe I'm asking a question that I don't want them to copy off of other people, so I want to make them post their own thoughts before they see everyone else's, so they don't tend to plagiarize somebody else's thoughts. I can go ahead and make this a graded discussion if I want, which if I do, I just simply give it a points possible and how much that's going to be worth. I can choose the format of that grade, and then I can choose to whether to sync this with PowerSchool. And I also need to make sure that it matches my assignment group. I could require it to be reviewed by peers. So I could either manually assign peers to review it, or I could tell it to automatically do it and say every peer has to review at least 2 other reviews, and then give that a due date if I want to as well. In this case, I don't need peer reviews. And then finally, there's an option up here just to allow liking if you want them to be able to give a thumbs up or a like to topics without having to type entire replies if you want. So I'm going to make mine graded. I'll leave the podcast feed on, and then I want to make sure they, I guess I don't need them to be able to see the replies. Now, there is also an option here to make this a group discussion. So if I wanted to, I could actually put students in groups, and I could allow them to either sign up for their own groups where they would have their discussions, or I could tell it to automatically split them up into a certain number of groups. I could assign one group a leader automatically, or randomly have it choose that. But this is designed for making a specific groups, or setting up different groups, in each group being able to have their own mini discussions on their own, essentially. Kind of like a Zoom breakout room, I guess you'd say, but in text format. So if I scroll down, if I'm happy with everything else here, I'm going to choose, again, this assignment is going to everyone, and I'm going to give it a due date. So since this is an assignment, I'm going to make sure it's due at a specific date and time. I could also choose when it shows up on the web if I want. Now, when I'm happy with it and everything looks the way I want it to look, I could go ahead and either save or save and publish. In this case, I'll save and publish. Oops. I don't want this to be a group assignment. And once I do that, it is going to create the discussion. And this is what it looks like. What do you think is the scariest part of virtual learning? Now, if I wanted to see what a student would see with this, I'm going to go ahead and hit home. And I'm going to switch over here to student view. Now, right now, that discussion only lives under the discussions tab because I haven't linked it anywhere. But I could insert that link to that discussion anywhere on my page if I want. Now, it will show up, since it has an upcoming due date, it will show up in a student's to-do section as something that is coming up as a due date. But I'm going to go ahead and click on discussions, and I will see, hey, here is some thoughts on virtual learning. This is that discussion right here. And when I click on it, I see the prompt, and again, anything else that I was listed shows up there. If I wanted to, I could actually subscribe to this feed. So anytime somebody posts a comment, I'll get a notification letting me know that that's happened. And then I can even search for specific comments from specific authors. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and reply. So when I hit reply, then I have my whole rich content editor, and I could go ahead and type in reply. So I can say, I'm afraid student participation might be an issue. And I could keep going and add as many different things to that as I want. I can attach files, I can insert links, etc., etc., etc. If you really want to be mean, you can actually tell them to upload their own media comments. So instead of having text versions of their comments, they could actually record their own media version of that as well. And when they do that, they will actually record their media comment, and it'll show up directly in that post that other people can just watch. So once I'm happy with that post, I go ahead and hit post reply, and that reply shows up just like here. This is my test student post. And this allows other people to then reply and to go through it just like that.